Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And you are with Caitlin de Villiers and Warrick McCabe from Legal&Tax Services. And we're welcoming our Solus clients as well. Solus is a division of Legal&Tax. And today we're talking Black Friday deals. Are they really life or death? We've got Mr. Warrick McCabe from our debt team. Warrick, would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself?
Good afternoon, Caitlin. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Warrick. I'm a debt advisor at Legal&Tax Services. And Caitlin, I think you'd agree with me when I say to you that this up and coming holiday season is going to be, it needs to come sooner rather than later.
Definitely, I'd say we're all in that boat.
Yes, everyone, with us mentioning now the up and coming holiday season, the holiday season for some of us is a very joyous, relaxed time of the year. Where we get to kick back, we get to relax, we get to rejuvenate and recharge after a year's hard work. But for the majority of us, it's a very difficult and frustrating time.
Yeah.
Why I say this is the festive season or the holiday season and Black Friday comes with a lot of pressure from a financial perspective. And what happens is we have all these expectations as the breadwinners in our homes. We have all these expectations from family, from friends, Christmas gifts. We might be traveling for the holidays to visit family members, planning a get together with family and friends. All these things cost money. And it causes so much frustration, especially if you do not have the financial means to meet all these expectations. And then what tends to happen is we tend to lean towards getting that pre-approved microloan, opening up a new line of credit in order to meet all these expectations. But to everybody today, I can say is that is the last thing that we need to do. And here's why I say that. Around the end of mid-September, end of September, we all notice that the stores start putting up all their fancy lights and decorations, and the cashiers are wearing their fancy Santa Claus hats. And we start getting bombarded with all these Black Friday deals and holiday sale advertisements, literally everywhere we look, from your bus stops to your social media. It's in your face. These advertisements, everyone, has been designed and put into place for us to part with our hard-earned money. In short, basically, they want us to part with money we don't have to purchase things that we do not need. So with that said, all this frustration is caused by the financial stress that we're under. So I want to discuss or just have an open conversation with everyone today with regards to how we can handle our financial situation better and our curb our spend over the festive season, just to alleviate some of the pressure that we might be going through over the season. And with that being said, the number one thing everybody should have as a financial tool would be a budget.
Excellent. I think that's very true. And Warrick, I know that you're about to give us a really good outline of what a budget is, but I think it's also just a reminder that budgets are particularly important now and throughout the rest of the year. So this isn't something that we're saying only do for Christmas time or only do for holidays.
Definitely.
Let's see if we can start now and stick to it. So, Warrick, tell us about this budget.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, all these fancy decorations and frills and jingles we hear in the stores, like I said, they are there to entice us to spend our hard-earned money on things we don't really need. And these adverts also make us feel left out at times when we see these great deals. And it makes us sometimes feel like we'd be silly not to take up that offer for that stunning washing machine that has been discounted by 50%.
Yeah.
Everyone, these are marketing tips and marketing tricks they use to entice us. So we should be conscious of all these colorful things we see around us when we walk into the stores. And coming back to budgeting is probably the most important tool anybody could have in their financial arsenal, if I can call it that way. Budgeting is so important, yet it is the simplest tool one could use. And I'll just elaborate a bit on what a budget is. A budget, if I could put it in as simpler terms as possible, is basically a list of all the necessities, all the needs you have in your household, you and your household might need in order to function optimally and to live a dignified life, such as water, rent, electricity, those type of things, the things that you cannot do without. So basically what a budget is basically a list of your expenses you need in order to run your household in a dignified manner and to get everyone everything that they need. A budget is going to make your financial situation very clear to you once you start using it. Once you've listed all your expenses on your budget sheet, you will then exactly see what you are spending to run your household, and you can see exactly what is left over for you to spend on whatever else you may deem necessary to support yourself and your family. And with budgeting, we also need to differentiate between wants and needs. Needs are very important. Needs are stuff that you need to live a dignified life and to provide for your family what they need. Those are needs. Those are the things that, if they are not paid on time or if they are not purchased on time, can cause dramatic problems for you. The consequences can be quite severe. And wants are all the things you want. It could be the fancy red leather handbag that goes with your red leather shoes. Those are wants. Those are things you can do without, but you would love to have. So we need to differentiate when it comes to that as well. And this ties indirectly to budgeting. Budgeting needs to be, firstly, priorities. What needs to be sorted first? And what you left over with then is what you can then spend on all the needs, not the needs, excuse me, all the wants you might have, that fancy handbag or the new sound system for the car, that type of thing. That is what you are left over with to spend after servicing all your responsibilities. Now, when it comes to budgeting, one of the most important things is that you be honest. You need to be honest, and you need to stick to it. Once you've jotted down all your expenses, you need to stick to it, because deviating with 10 Rand can have severe consequences later on down the line, a few months down the line. So it's very important that you are disciplined. And the key word here would be discipline. You need to be disciplined when it comes to budgeting. At Legal&Tax, the debt advisors have made it a lot easier for our Legal&Tax members, as well as our Solace members, as well as our non-members who are currently listening to us, who happen to browse our website. We do have a budgeting template on our website, which can be downloaded at no cost to everybody. And we are also available for any budget-related questions. Should you need any assistance in drawing up a budget, or should you just need guidance on how to do it correctly, you are more than welcome to make contact with us as debt advisors. And all this information is on our website as well for everybody to make use of. And then the second point I want to just bring across is communication. And this is something that in the financial sector, or when it comes to your financial well-being, if I can put it that way, very few people discuss, especially when it comes to you being a parent or looking after loved ones. Communication is also very important, because if you communicate to your family that currently this month we cannot afford to buy X and Y because we are in this situation. If you are open with your family and your loved ones, the expectations from them will then reduce, because they will then also know that you are not in a financial situation to give them what they want, but you will be in a position to possibly give them what they need. So communication is also key. It's a very small aspect of what we're discussing, but I think it's very important, especially when it comes to if you have kids and your kids are of an age where they can comprehend what is being discussed. It is also something that can be discussed with your kids, but not in detail, obviously not in much detail, but they can be made aware that you will not be getting the PS5 at the end of the year because we obviously cannot afford it. And that, I think, will also relieve some of the pressure that you as a breadwinner have in your household, which I think is also very important. And again, I want to just reiterate that we need to differentiate between wants and needs, because your son or daughter might want that fancy PS5. He or she might not need it at that current moment. So wants and needs, wants and needs are very important.
Just to interject there, especially now at this time of year, because it is such a family-orientated season. It's the festive season, it's the holidays, kids are home from school. And as a family, financial wellness is something that does need to be discussed. And I think your point about communication, it may seem like a small thing, but I think it's a very big thing. And I think you're very on the nose to be able to actually bring that up and put that with the budgeting, because part of the communication and part of being able to actually design that budget so that it has the necessary long-term effects is absolutely 100% dependent on communicating wholeheartedly with the people who are part of your family and the ones that you take care of. Even if they're not your immediate family, they're still people who are dependent on you and to take care of them. And those needs and wants, especially when it's not just I, me, and my needs, it's the family's needs. It's the wife, it's the husband, it's the parents, it's the grandparents, it's the aunts and the uncles. And it's especially in South Africa, where we have a lot of communities where you are expected, if you've done well or if you have a little bit more than somebody else, you're expected to give back. And if you choose to adhere to that, and if you choose to give back, you do have to make sure that you are giving without taking from yourself and leaving yourself in a position where you do end up in debt.
Yes, no, I couldn't have said it better, Kate. That is exactly the point I was trying to drive across. And like I was saying, is when you communicate this with your family, your financial situation with your family, it alleviates some of the pressure, and also it then clears, if I can say, clears your mind for you to start focusing on what's important. Because most of the stress when it comes to finances over this time of the year specifically is caused by you not being able to provide what your family wants.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sure everybody can agree with me, can be very frustrating. You will have endless sleepless nights because of that. So we also need to be very cognizant of these advertisements we see all over the place, everyone. These advertisements, like I said earlier, are designed to entice us to spend our hard-earned money on things that we don't really need. And I want to just discuss or just have a quick open conversation regarding how these sales and discounts work. And in order for me to do that, I want to give everybody an example of what a good deal is and what a bad deal is. A good deal is, I'll use a simple example of one of your loved ones give you 200 Rand and they tell you need to visit your local Pick n Pay to purchase a liter of milk, a loaf of bread, and possibly a broom. You walk into your Pick n Pay and you go down the aisle, you pick up your liter of milk, which is going to cost you, excuse me, my apologies, a liter of milk, which is going to cost you 20 Rand. You then pick up your loaf of bread, which costs you 15 Rand, and that gives you a total of 35 Rand. You then realize that you are left with 165 Rand, so you can now afford that broom you so desperately need at home, which costs 150 Rand. So walking down the aisle, you get to the section where they keep the brooms in your Pick n Pay, and lo and behold, there's a big, beautiful, brightly colored sign saying these brooms are marked down by 50% from 150 Rand to 75 Rand. You immediately grab the broom, put it into your trolley, and you dash down to the cashier with a fancy Santa Claus hat. You purchase your 3 items and you walk out of the store. This is a good deal. And let me explain why. Your initial budget was 200 Rand. You've purchased your bread and your milk, and you then found that you have enough money left over to spend 150 Rand on a broom. When you then picked up the broom, you found it was marked down by 75 Rand. So you've saved yourself 75 Rand. That means that is 75 Rand that you've saved that was already allocated into your budget. You were going to spend 150 Rand on the broom, but lo and behold, Black Friday saving, you've saved yourself 50%. So you now are putting 75 Rand back into your pocket. Everyone, we need to remember that it is only a saving if you have budgeted for it.
And if you put it in the bank afterwards.
Yes, and like I was actually getting to that decade. So what with that saving can go directly into your bank account, and you can save it for a rainy day. And it is money in the bank. Money in the bank is money saved. Money that is spent outside of your budget is money not saved. That is money you did not allocate for a specific function. So that is not a saving. So I'll use the same example to explain to try and explain to everyone what a bad deal is. So you've got your 200 Rand note. You've walked into your Pick n Pay, and as you walk into the entrance of the Pick n Pay, they've got all these beautiful kettles standing there marked down from 400 Rand to 200 Rand. According to your understanding, this is a very good deal because I'll be saving 200 Rand on this fancy kettle. You then take your 200 Rand note, dash down to the cashier, purchase the kettle for 200 Rand, walk into your house with a brand new fancy kettle that will match all your appliances in your kitchen, but you did not provide milk. You did not provide the bread. Your floor is still dirty because you did not buy a broom. So I think that example makes it clear as to what a good deal is and what a bad deal is. The bad deal, the bad deal when it comes to the kettle is you spent your entire budget on something you don't need, and you haven't provided the needs for yourself, which is the bread, the milk, and the broom. So in actual fact, you've purchased something you don't need with money that was budgeted for a specific function. Now you are without the bread and the milk and without the broom, and you need to explain to your loved ones why the floor is going to be dirty for the next month. That is an example of a bad deal. So we need to be very cognizant of these adverts. And again, it comes back to wants and needs. We need to differentiate wants and needs. Something I do, Caitlin, is when I need to make a purchase, I usually stand in front of the item. I'd pick it up, I'd hold it in my hands, I'd look at it, and I'd say to myself, Warrick, do you want this or do you need it? And that usually I usually answer my own question. I know the answer to my question already, but these adverts are so powerful. We constantly have to remind ourselves that this might not be a good deal. And that is just a simple trick that I use, that I've been implementing. And I found that I have cut down dramatically on erratic spending. So needs and wants it's very important. We need to differentiate between needs and wants. That helps us so much when we make these financial decisions, especially when it comes to making purchases. But with that said also, I want to also mention that there is nothing wrong with buying a discounted item, but only if it is really needed. So if your washing machine is not, functioning anymore, and you walk into a store and here is a very good machine of good brand and you're very happy with it, and it's at a discounted price, that is a purchase that can be made because it's something that you need and you're getting it at a discounted price. So wants and needs can become a very blurred lines at times, especially when we start brainwashing ourselves saying that I cannot wear those shoes without that fancy handbag. So the third thing I want to mention when it comes to handling our finances is that we need to make sacrifices. By you drawing up a budget does not automatically enable you to afford that fancy washing machine at the end of the month. But it will empower you to put a couple of rands in the bank to save towards getting that fancy washing machine that you always wanted. So budgeting, everybody needs to understand, is not going to solve your financial problems, but it's going to start clearing up your financial problems gradually if you stick to it. So budgeting, again, if I could just reiterate it again, budgeting is very, very, very important. The problem comes when we see these sales signs for things that we don't really need and we don't really want, is to try and get over that mental barrier of, if I don't buy this, I'll be losing out. If I don't purchase this kettle that's marked down by 50%, I'll never get it at this price again. Again, differentiate between wants and needs. If you really want something, you can start saving towards it. And how you save towards it is by budgeting, so that you can know exactly where you stand financially, how much you can spend on specific item and how much you can save towards that specific item. And trust me, I've walked this journey. I've walked this journey. I've learned from bad decisions, but something as simple as just jotting down what you're spending money on makes a world of a difference. So moving forward from that point, money that we save is money that we need to put into the bank. Money cannot be saved by just keeping it in your pocket. Stash it away, watch it pile up, and if every 10 rand you add to that gets you closer to that purchase you want, or gets you closer to your financial freedom. So get onto our website, have a look at the budget template. We've tried to make it as simple and user-friendly as possible. Download the budget, fill it in. If you need any problems, if you encounter any problems with it, make contact with us. Any one of our debt advisors, any one of my colleagues are available to assist, and we can gladly discuss and walk you through on a personalized basis. We can look at your situation on a personalized level, and we can then see what we can, if I can say, draw up a budget for you and assist you, and we can then move forward from there. And trust me, sticking to your budget will make a world of a difference.
Absolutely. And I think that. Thank you so much, Warrick. I mean, there are so many points so well discussed, is the fact that there are these just myriads of marketing tactics that are used to try and fund us from our hard-earned cash. And it can be so difficult to overcome that, because you do feel the pressure to buy, you do feel the pressure to spend. And if you stick to your budget and you've worked out and communicated what your needs and your family's needs are, then they're in the budget. And then you can plan to ensure that you are able to meet those needs over a long and short-term basis. And I think it becomes very difficult for us to sometimes think outside the box when it comes to future needs or future wants. And we're not saying that you can never buy anything that you want. I mean, absolutely, you're allowed to do with your money what you like. But the best thing to remember is that if you want to live comfortably and you want to maintain a level of financial freedom, you do need to plan what you do with your money, because money, as we all know, is a finite resource. And for some of us, it's more finite than others.
True.
And what becomes really difficult is that you do have to kind of budget for your wants. And we often really want something, we want it now. And then when you look at the budget, you go, I can't have it now. I can have it next month. Or maybe we can have it 3 months or 6 months from now. And that's where sometimes one gets a little bit disappointed and you feel like, well, it's not going to be the same in 6 months. I don't want to wait. I want it now. But really, does it have to be now?
Yes. It's like I was saying earlier, Kate. It's a big part of the financial hole we dig for ourselves from time to time is made by making irrational decisions, spur of the moment decisions, standing in front of the item, thinking, well, I've got 500 Rand in my pocket now. I could literally buy this and walk out of the store. And trust me, the feeling you get when you purchase it, it's a wonderful feeling. I love the feeling knowing that I've just bought this. But in a day or two, the novelty will wear off, and then it will just become another appliance standing on the kitchen counter that is just taking up space now. So needs and wants, again, I'll come back to needs and wants. Very, very important. We need to decide what we want and what we need. And once we can differentiate between those two, spending money on your needs will become a norm. It will become so normal that it will be money that you will not even have to put into your budget. And let me explain what I mean by that. If, for example, it costs you 1,000 Rand to run your household a month, you will know every month from this very month where I've started budgeting or started drawing up my budget that I've got 1,000 Rand set aside to run my household. That already is one step to you starting to handle your finances, because you know now what it costs to run your household. I mean, I was in a situation, and if I'm honest with everybody, I was in a situation where I didn't know how much it used to cost to run my household. I used to pay the bills as they used to come, as I used to get an SMS or an email, or I need to pay Telkom, for example. That's how I used to go about it. And at the end of the month or at the end of the following month, I could never remember where my money has gone to. But since I've been budgeting, things are so clear. I know exactly what is expected from me, and I know exactly what I can save and what I can spend on. And I feel that if we all just apply these little tips and little tricks, something as simple as jotting down your expenses on a piece of paper can make a world of a difference. And stick to it. That is it. Discipline, like I said, we'll have to make some sacrifices. You'll need to cut down on your Starbucks coffee from time to time, and just have your normal cup of coffee at home in order for you to make ends meet. So sacrifice is important. Differentiate between wants and needs, and more importantly, budget, and stick to it. If you need assistance, again, I want to just reiterate, if you need assistance, please reach out to us. We are there to assist. Everything is kept very confidential. You can make contact with us, and we can then speak to you on an individual basis, and then specifically draw up a tailor-made plan for you. And if you stick to that plan, I'm sure within due time, things will start making a lot more sense financially for you.
Definitely. And do it sooner rather than later. This is what I think a lot of people don't realize, is that you don't have to wait until you're in the hole and the outlook is bleak before you phone a debt counselor or a debt advisor, because we would rather keep you out of the hole. Like, nobody wants to end up under, I've just forgotten the word, you're the experts, under not sequestration.
Debt counseling? Debt counseling or debt review,
Yeah, no one wants to end up under debt review. So rather actually start to manage that finite resource that we all love so much, manage your money. And budgeting is the best way to do that. We've got a saying at Legal&Tax and Solace, which is you can't manage what you're not measuring. And your budget is the best way to actually measure what's coming in and what's going out. And if you don't know the totals of both of those amounts, then it's very difficult to be able to reconcile at the end of the month where the money went.
So true. So true. So true. Yes. And going back to the point you made earlier, Kate, when you mentioned that when it comes to budgeting, how strict and disciplined we need to be about this.
Mm.
It can be a very frustrating. I deal with we've dealt with clients who could have avoided so much financial frustration if they only reached out before it became
Yeah.
what the situation currently was. So you have to reach out to people who are qualified to discuss and
Mm.
assist you with this before it becomes worse. And we also need to be cognizant of the fact that if you are in a bad financial situation, you not paying attention to it is only going to make it worse. And when
Yeah.
I say worse, it is going to become a lot more expensive for you to dig yourself out of that hole. So
Yeah.
budgeting is one of the tools that we can make use of to avoid us falling into that trap. And again, sacrifice, we will need to say no to certain things, to certain family
Mm.
members. We will need to say no to ourselves for certain things we want
Mm.
and need. But once the budget is in place, once you see financially where you stand and where your family stands, you know exactly what you can spend money on. Everybody will be on the same page because you have now clearly communicated to your family members the financial situation you currently find yourselves in. And from there, things will only get better.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, at this time of year, I think it does break a lot of our hearts, the idea that we might have to say no to our kids. But I think, and I can't speak for everybody, but it could actually be quite an interesting family activity is to plan the budget and to teach the children, bring them in on the family planning, the financial planning specifically, so that they learn from an early age how to manage their money and they don't end up in a situation where when they're now adults, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, making
So
the same mistakes we've made.
yeah.
Exactly. No, so true, Kate. And also it empowers the if I can say the younger generation so much, knowing how to
Mm.
handle these types of situations and how to draw up something as simple as a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, if I knew how to handle my finances, but just from a budgeting perspective, when I started my working career,
Mm.
my situation could have been a lot different now,
Yeah.
from a financial perspective.
I
So the
think that's
younger
everyone.
yes. So the younger we can start educating and teaching and empowering, the better
Mm.
off their futures will be. So it's like you said, it can be made a family activity. It can be a fun
Mm.
family activity, and we could all sit around the table and start doing the sums and so on. If you, that's obviously if you have children who are of age that can comprehend uh,
Mm.
what exactly is being discussed. So that is important. Budgeting, communication, wants and needs. If you take
Yeah.
anything away from what we are discussing here today, take away those three things. Budget firstly, so you know what you can spend and what you're spending it on.
Mm.
Communication, so that you can inform whoever is going to be benefiting from your spending what you can spend money on and what they
Mm.
can expect from you. And then thirdly is sacrifice. You
Yeah.
need to make sacrifices. Like everything else in life, we need to make sacrifices in order to achieve our goals. So our goal is to not overspend over this holiday season and Black Friday, which is coming up hard and fast next week and Friday. I've actually
Yep.
noticed how the ads have started picking up now.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get bamboozled by the fancy lights and the cashiers in Santa hats and the signs pointing to discounted items and 50% off. Those are marketing gimmicks that is used to entice us to spend our hard-earned money on stuff that we don't really need.
Yep. And Warrick, thank you so much for that brings us to the end of our half-hour session. Warrick, you've been an absolute rock star. Thank you so much. I
No,
think
thank you.
no problem. I think it's just been an incredibly informative session because a lot of people will struggle to hear, listen, sorry, those aren't really savings. Like you've been looking forward to Black Friday and there are a whole bunch of deals that you're keen to take advantage of, but they're not the savings that you think they are. And it can be hard to hear that, especially because we do look forward to buying things that we thought we couldn't afford, but now think we can.
Yes.
And it's hard to hear, but it's necessary. Just like a lot of things in life, it's better to hear the truth about these things and to remember that you don't have to buy the stuff that people tell you to buy. You don't have to fall for every marketing trick in the book. It's
Yes.
something that has been, it's a whole science, consumer spending and things like that. So it's very important that we remember that we don't necessarily have to fall prey to those tricks and we can save our money. We can actually manage and mitigate January if we're just clever with our money now.
Yes, and as I'm sure we all can agree, January can be the longest year of the year.
Exactly.
So, yeah, with good financial planning and budgeting, you'll know exactly where you stand. You'll know exactly what you can spend on and you'll know exactly what you're spending it on, which should alleviate some of that January pressure that is looming. It's around the corner. It's there. It's going to be upon us sooner rather than later. But with good planning, good financial planning, and with legal and tax, give us a call, give our debt advisors a call. If you are struggling, if you need assistance with budgeting, we are available to assist you. We'll be more than happy to walk you through the process and discuss with you anything that might be worrying you, if I can use the term, when it comes to your spending patterns over the next few 2-3 weeks before we hit the festive season hard.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for availing themselves and their time. We know it's time is so important. So I'm very grateful for everybody taking out their time and giving us this 30 minutes so that we could have this conversation. And with that said, no, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much to everybody on Zoom and on Facebook. And the webinar will be available on our YouTube channel and our webpage shortly. So if you did miss anything, or for anybody you know missed anything, then you're more than welcome to share the link, and that'll be up shortly. So we just wanted to say thank you again from Warrick and myself, and we hope that we will see you at our next webinar, which will probably be next year. So.
Thank you so much, and have a safe holidays, guys. Thank you. Goodbye.
Travel safe, guys.